Good morning, students. Today we are on the second part of the third chapter of class 10 Civics, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. In the previous video, we have already discussed about the Prime Minister, the appointment of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. In the Council of Ministers, we have studied about the three categories of ministers like the cabinet ministers, ministers of the state and deputy ministers. Thereafter, we studied about what is cabinet and what are the differences between Council of Ministers and the cabinet. In this video, in today's video, we are going to discuss about the position and powers of the Prime Minister. Under this heading, we have to study about 6 topics. The first topic is Prime Minister and the President. There are many points under this heading that shows the relations between the Prime Minister and President. We already studied that the President is acting as per the advice of the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister and the President is describing various situations in which the President is acting as per the advice of the Prime Minister. The second topic is Prime Minister and the Cabinet. We studied about the Cabinet. The Cabinet is the nucleus of the government and Prime Minister is the head of the Cabinet. The role of the Prime Minister in the Cabinet is the topic we are going to discuss under the heading Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The third one, Prime Minister inside the Parliament. The role of the Prime Minister inside the Parliament is the main topic there that we are going to study about the role of the Prime Minister inside the Parliament. The fourth one is Prime Minister as the leader of the nation. We studied that Prime Minister is the head of the government and he is the real chief executive. So we are going to study about the role of the Prime Minister as the leader of the nation. The fifth one is check on the authority of the Prime Minister. Even though Prime Minister is the head of the government, he is the real chief executive, but he is not all powerful. It is his responsibility to enjoy the support of majority members in Lok Sabha. The related topics we are going to study under the heading check on the authority of the Prime Minister. The last topic is individual and collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers. In the last part of the chapter, 2 topics are given: individual responsibility and collective responsibility. Individual responsibility means the responsibility of a minister. He can remain in power till the pleasure of the President. The collective responsibility is the collective responsibility of the Council of Ministers. They can remain in power as long as they enjoy majority in the Parliament. So these are the main topics of discussion under the heading Prime Minister, under the heading Position and Powers of the Prime Minister. These topics are described in detail in a PowerPoint presentation. So let's move to the next part of this video, the PowerPoint presentation.
Prime Minister and the President. Under this heading, you have to learn 5 important points. The first one, all authority vested in the President is exercised by the Prime Minister. He is the principal advisor of the President. Second point, the President summons and prorogues the Parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha on the advice of the Prime Minister. The third one, it is on the advice of the Prime Minister, the President appoints the other ministers. That is related to the formation of the Council of Ministers. The fourth point, the Prime Minister advises the President on the appointment of the important posts such as judges of Supreme Court, judges of High Court, governors of the state, etc. The last point, the Prime Minister is acting as a link between the President and the Council of Ministers. So these are the 5 points coming under the heading Prime Minister and the President. These points are showing the relation between the Prime Minister and the President. The second topic is the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. The role of the Prime Minister in the Cabinet. Under this topic, 5 points are there. Only the points typed, you should be able to explain the point in 1 or 2 sentences. The first point is leader of the cabinet. The Prime Minister is the head of the cabinet. He is deciding who is a cabinet minister, a minister of state, or a deputy minister. It is the discretion. Normally, the senior most and most efficient members of the Council of Ministers will be appointed as the cabinet ministers. The second one is power to allocate portfolios. It is the Prime Minister who allocates departments or portfolios to the different ministers. Third point is power to select and dismiss ministers. The Prime Minister chooses the ministers and has the power to dismiss them too. He can ask an erring minister to resign. The fourth point is power to direct and coordinate policy. The Prime Minister coordinates the working of various departments so that administration is carried on smoothly. The last point, resignation of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's resignation implies the resignation of the whole cabinet. If the Prime Minister resigns, it is equal to the resignation of all cabinet. Then third heading is the Prime Minister inside the Parliament. The role of the Prime Minister inside the Parliament. Under this heading, there are 4 main points. You should be able to explain these points. The first point is leader of the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister is the leader of the majority party in the Parliament, so he is said to be the leader of the House. This is the first point. Second one is spokesperson of the government. The Prime Minister makes all important announcements on national policies on the floor of the House. Then third one is defender of government policies. The Prime Minister defends the government in Parliament. When a policy or a minister comes under attack in the Parliament, the Prime Minister comes to defend the issue involved. The last point, intervention in controversial issues. If an ugly situation arises in Parliament over some controversial issues, the controversial issues may be center-state relations, language issue, price rise, etc. The matter generally ends with the intervention of the Prime Minister. Then next heading is Prime Minister as leader of the nation. The role of the Prime Minister as the leader of the nation. Under this heading also 5 points are there. They are: first one, the Prime Minister represents the nation. When he speaks, the whole nation is supposed to be speaking through him. The second point, during a national crisis like war, even the opposition parties support the Prime Minister. The third point, the Prime Minister decides what kind of relations India would have with other countries. The fourth point, the Prime Minister tries to protect the interests of the country in international forums. Last one, the Prime Minister is also the ex officio chairman of Niti Aayog and Atomic Energy Commission. So these are the 5 points you have to remember under the heading Prime Minister as the leader of the nation. The next one is check on the authority of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the head of the government. He is the real chief executive, but there are checks on the authority of the Prime Minister. He should be careful for remaining in the post. The points you have to remember under the heading check on the authority of the Prime Minister. It is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to ensure the support of his ministers as well as the party to be in power. The dictatorial tendencies of the Prime Minister is to be monitored or checked by his political party as well as his ministers. The second one, in case of coalition ministries, the Prime Minister must ensure the support of the political parties which helped him to form the ministry. If it is a coalition government, the position of the Prime Minister is not safe. It is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to ensure the support of other political parties which are engaged in making the ministry. Third one, the opposition parties always look for a chance to criticize the Prime Minister. The last one, the press and public opinion act as effective checks on the Prime Minister's authority. These are the 4 checks on the authority of Prime Minister. The next topic is collective responsibility. The last 2 slides are related to collective responsibility and individual responsibility. It is related to the Council of Ministers. First, let us see what is meant by collective responsibility. Collective responsibility means the Council of Ministers are responsible to the Lok Sabha. They can remain in power as long as they enjoy majority in the Lok Sabha. If a vote of no confidence is passed against the Council of Ministers or a particular minister, the ministry as a whole has to resign. That is meant by the term collective responsibility. Collective responsibility means the responsibility of the Council of Ministers as a whole. The principle of collective responsibility implies 3 things. The first point, if a vote of no confidence is passed against one minister, the whole ministry has to resign. The vote of no confidence may be against one minister, but that is showing that the Council of Ministers lost the confidence, lost the majority. So they altogether has to resign. Second one, the decisions taken in the meetings of the cabinet are equally applicable to all ministers. Normally, the cabinet ministers are attending the cabinet meeting. But once a decision is taken in the cabinet and once it is communicated to the other ministers, they are collectively responsible to that decisions. They cannot live from the responsibility of such a type of decisions. Third one, all ministers jointly share the responsibility for the government policies and performance. These are the 3 points you have to remember under the heading collective responsibility. Then last topic is individual responsibility. Individual responsibility means the responsibility of a minister as an individual, his own responsibility. The ministers are individually responsible to the president, that is, they hold office during the pleasure of the president. If the president is getting an advice from the prime minister regarding the performance of a particular minister, he can demand for his resignation. They can be dismissed by the president on the advice of the prime minister even when they have the confidence of the legislature. The minister is not performing as per the expectation of the prime minister, and the political party is having majority in the Lok Sabha, then also the president can demand for the resignation of a particular minister. Each minister is answerable to the parliament for the department under his control. So these are the points you have to remember under the heading individual responsibility of a minister. So this is the end of the 3rd chapter of Civics. Thank you.